But we might as well talk about Remco Evenepoel as well. We haven't really mentioned him winning the World Championships time trial in quite an emphatic fashion, beating Ganna and Josh Tarling. We'll get on to Tarling, but Remco Evenepoel doing something he's been likened to Eddie Merckx so many times that it's crazy. Only 23 years old, he's accomplished something now that Eddie Merckx has never done, winning the World Time Trial Championships because it never existed when he was a pro. But yeah, does this add something to? Does this lift him up in the stages of cycling, and can we still put him in that box of the the accomplishments of Eddie Merckx in the modern era? And yeah, I'm going for this. Yeah, as Ewan mentioned this as well, he's the first rider to win kind of in a we couldn't think of it, win the road race title and then the next year win the time trial title. Okay, it's not a double, but it's very close.
Yeah, it's almost as close as you're going to get, and it's more impressive maybe because it's across two separate disciplines. With it being sort of a hilly road race last year, and this year with it being a mostly flat TT. There was a climb at the end, but Evenepoel was even up on Pippo Ganna before the climb to Stirling Castle. So for me, it's definitely putting Remco up there. Maybe not EDDY MERCKX category, just because we haven't seen what he's capable of at a Tour de France. I think once we get that answer, we might be able to have those discussions. But he's definitely setting himself apart from Pogacar at the moment, who I think is probably the other rider in contention to be like the EDDY MERCKX of this generation, because Pogacar doesn't have a World Championship title, neither does he have an World Championship individual time trial champion. And I think what Evenepoel has done here is sort of complete another one of those sort of boxes on his tick list, which he's definitely been doing over the past sort of 2 seasons, winning monuments, winning UCI World Tour stage races at the highest level, a Grand Tour victory, national championships on the road, and now the World Championships on the road and the time trial discipline. It's super polyvalent. It's definitely showing a maturing of talent and age by Remco Evenepoel.
And there's only a few riders probably in the pro peloton who could do the same. Just to name riders off the top of my head, Pogacar, as you said, Ewan probably could do something if the course suited him, especially in the TT. If it was a bit hillier, I think he could definitely win a road race and a TT. Wout van Aert, of course, is another one who could do that. But outside of them, like, I'm really struggling to think of somebody who would win a road race and a TT world title in the current peloton. I reckon there's only those three, unless I'm Ganna, maybe, if a road course really suited him. But you're really clutching at straws as to riders who could really complete something like this. And Remco's the only one in the peloton to have done it. So it does really set him apart from the rest of the field. And it does give him an edge over a Pogacar and stuff, because Remco is faster than Pogacar over most TT courses. I mean, we've seen if they head uphill, then Jonas might certainly decide to turn up and come and take the title instead. So I think that Remco's really forged out a niche which he is really good at, which is that he is a Grand Tour rider, stage racer, but absolute killer TT. Like, he is, without a doubt, top three on any course. Like, put him in there, he's a contender for the win. And there's not many riders who you can say are on that same mantra.
Also, just thinking, like, in terms of his palmares, he's been national champion of Belgium, he's been European champion as well back in 2019, and now he's world champion by the age of 23. And it's a competitive national championships in Belgium. I don't know if we've had anybody else do that. I know the European Championships took a pause for quite a few years, but I don't think we've had someone, not like Pippo Ganna, I don't think has even won the Europeans. So it is a truly unique feat that Evenepoel has done here in winning all of those by the age of 23, and also looking towards the road race. He's now got the road racing title of Belgium. He's been the road world champion. He also came second in the Continental Championships back in 2021, only losing out to Sonny Colbrelli. So Evenepoel really does have his talent of one-day racing, whether that's a one-day race time trial in a national championship or a European or world championship, and also in these classics, like we spoke about with Liège-Bastogne-Liège, also Classic of San Sebastian. Apart from the world championships we had last week, the Belgian road championships last year won by Tim Merlier, and Bache, which he went to as sort of a promo for the Rainbow Jersey last year. He, in terms of the past 2 seasons, he's won all of those races. That is a phenomenal record. And I think that just goes to show that Remco really is a rider who can rise to the occasion and deliver.
I'm gonna still clutch to this this Eddie Merckx, because it's been him and Eddie Merckx have been so synonymous over the years, just because he's Belgian, he's winning a lot. But Eddie Merckx actually won his first World Championships. He won 3 in total on the road, obviously, because the time trial didn't exist, when he was 23, I believe. So same age or just 22. So it's similar kind of, trajectory. He was 24 when he won his first Tour de France. Remco is going to be 24 next year when he goes to his first Tour de France. So he's kind of still is on the track of doing this. And in terms of Liège-Bastogne-Liège, he was a lot older than Remco when he won his first one. He was actually 24 when he won his first one, and he's already won 2 of them. So in some categories, he's actually ahead of the GOAT of the sport.
And it wouldn't surprise me, given Quick Step's lackluster spring classics this season, if Remco was sent to Flanders next year and even managed to win that solo with not on a climb, but like a preemptive move on a flat section, say before like a Ardèche Clermont or something like that. If he went solo long, like he could win that as well. But, an Il Lombardia as well. But, I'd probably say like a Roubaix and a San Remo, probably not likely to happen. But yeah, like he is so comparable to Merckx, and like Ewan said, well, it's just like a test of time. Like the results will continue to keep flowing for Evenepoel so long as nothing goes wrong, and it's just a matter of how far can he go, because he is such a good one-day racer. And the one thing which I love about him is that him and Pogačar and Van der Poel are very akin to this, is that they have this very still like pure racing style where they go for quite long, audacious moves, and it's not calculated, which is what the pro pelotons become more and more akin to. And I just love how they still hold on to this like pure grit, cyclismo determination to make racing entertaining. And from a fan's perspective, I love that he still goes long in races and makes them exciting from far out. I think that he is really good at doing that, and that's arguably one of his strongest strengths, is his aeroness, is that it's just so hard to follow him, and that's why he's so good at TTs too. He's the whole package, and I reckon Merckx will be like, oh god, all my records are getting ticked off slowly, one by one. Cavs equaled this, and what's next to fall for Merckx, basically.
I mean, the one thing that's missing now is an Olympic medal, really.
And Tour.
Tour de France. He has a Grand Tour.
Yeah. He also
it's
won
proving
Tour of
himself
Denmark
at the Tour de France. But then also an Olympic medal as well. I feel like that's necessary to really get into that sort of legend category. I mean, he probably will be, but I feel like an Olympic medal would be like the full house of competitions, because he's got the monument, all those different titles that we spoke about as well.
I don't think, did Eddy Merckx actually win an Olympic gold? I feel like he didn't.
He didn't. I've got his Wikipedia page up right here.
Yeah, I'm frantically trying as well.
But
his son did a bronze.
Yeah, the Olympic road race, it does throw up some strange results if you look back at the history books. But what Evenepoel does have is the opportunity to get an Olympic medal in the time trial in Paris, in particular next year. If Ganna goes for the track again and then misses the mark in the road racing side of it, then Evenepoel could be in a really good position to win that Olympic title. Especially coming out of the Tour de France, the Olympics will be in a similar position to the Worlds this year, or a week earlier probably. I think he's definitely got a good shot at winning gold next year.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to win the Tour? That's the last point. Do you think he's going to win? Well, he's matched or beaten some of Eddy Merckx's achievements at this relative similar age. Yes, cycling's very different now, which I think is quite impressive that he's still managed to beat some of Eddy Merckx's achievements by the same age. But do you think he's going to come anywhere near, the whole of Grand Tours like Eddy Merckx? He has one, like you said, but is he going to get the Tour?
I think he will.
Ooh.
You think he's going to get 5 or just win one?
No, I don't think he'll get 5. I reckon he'll get 1 or 2. I just think that there's still more to come from Grand Tour performances from Remco. I think he would have won the Giro this year, barring COVID, personally. I think that's not an especially hot take, to be honest with you. I think it would have been, pretty likely that he was going to, if he didn't have COVID, put more time in that second TT into a Roglic. Could he have held on to Roglic in most of those climbs, if not all of them? Yeah, probably. And so I think Remco could have won the Giro. So hypothetically, yes, he could do that again. Can he win the Tour? We haven't necessarily seen him up against a Pogačar and a Jonas in like full flight. So I think that's still like an unknown. It's very possible that he could be competitive against them. We just don't know. We're presuming that he won't be because of the level of Pogačar and Jonas. That's kind of what I feel people like the general public and sort of feeling is that our Remco's not quite on a climbing level, but we just don't know because we haven't seen it. So I'm going to stick my neck out and say I think he will win a Tour. I'm not sure whether it'll be next year. I think that there's still unknown quantities in terms of Ineos, all that's still going on, that rumour and the support around him. But I reckon he could do it, honestly. I reckon he really could.
That rumour has a new chapter. Alberto Contador said on Spanish television that Remco had signed for Ineos.
What?
Yeah, but this is Alberto Contador. Why is he the man who's told him?
Yeah, exactly.
Why is it not Patrick Evenepoel or someone else? Anyways, the question in hand. I don't think he'll win next year. I think he could win a Tour de France. I just don't think it's going to be like 4 or 5. I think if he wins a Tour de France, it might be 1 or 2. I just think from what we've seen, the thing is Pogacar's only a year and a half older than him. Not even a year and a half, a year and 4 months older than him.
It doesn't matter. It's Vingegaard who's going to win the next 8 years. So.
Vingegaard's only 2 years older than Evenepoel.
The next 8 years, you can write it off, guys. It's Danish. The Danish flag, Danish anthem.
But, okay, the thing is...
It's like, no.
But in that case, because Pogacar and Vingegaard are the 2 best riders at the Tour de France, they have been over the past 3 editions.
Hands down, yeah.
Yeah, and then Pogacar won the 2020 edition. Evenepoel has not beaten Pogacar at a stage race yet. And, I feel like before, we've seen them, especially the past 2 Tours de France from Vingegaard and Pogacar themselves, so on the build-up, they look fantastic in terms of the stage racing performance, the stage racing performances that they give. I don't feel like we've seen Evenepoel really go into a stage race over the past couple of years and give a completely dominant performance. He came close in the UAE Tour this year, but he didn't win the final mountain stage. Adam Yates did. Even sort of this year and at Catalonia, it was close between him and Pogacar, but even if it was close between him and Roglic, rather. If Evenepoel were to have won that race, it would have only been a matter of maybe a couple seconds to Roglic, whereas Vingegaard won Dauphiné by 3 minutes. Pogacar won Paris-Nice by maybe 2 minutes and won 3 stages along the way. This year, looking back at last year, and then the way Pogacar won Tirreno Adriatico and Vingegaard's fantastic ride at the Dauphiné last year, I feel like we've seen more on the build-up to Grand Tours from Pogacar and Vingegaard than Evenepoel. But then Evenepoel really gives these stellar one-day racing results at a national championships, at a classic that maybe Vingegaard doesn't get, for instance. We don't see anything in the classics from Vingegaard.
Yeah, he's not even going to the Tour of Denmark this year, or he didn't go to the Nationals either, and didn't go to the World Championships either to represent Denmark. Yeah, I agree.
It's lame, Jonas.
It would have been good to see him at the Worlds TT. Who knows what he could have done based on the Tour one. But as Ewan said, a Tour TT is very different to a one-day TT, etc. But
for instance, Pogacar came sort of 20 something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, Patrick, you did the film of Pogacar getting past on Ganna on the final climb.
Yeah. Legit. Somebody said, "Oh, Pogacar's coming," and I was like, "Sweet!" So I started cheering Pogacar, and then Ganna came, and I was like, "Hang on, he's been gapped. He's been fully spat by Ganna." I was like, "Oh no!" It's a good point. One day TT performances are very different to doing them on stage 16.
We have a brilliant. We've talked about this before. Liking modern rider to Eddy Merckx, and that was of course Tadej Pogacar. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure to listen on that discussion if you're new here on the podcast. But nevertheless, now we're getting to one of our favorite topics, and